Hey everyone, today I'm going to show you how I create a project on Ravelry. Ravelry allows you to keep track of all the things you've made, put pictures up, notes so you can keep track of kind of the decisions you made. You can link it to the yarns you're using. It's really great. And it also links it back to the pattern you used so other people can see when they look up that pattern what your take on that pattern was. And that's a really nice feature about the Ravelry community. Okay, so beforehand, I just took a picture of my project and I've got my pattern here so I know the name of it. And I have my yarn so I know the name of my yarn. And I'm going to go into Ravelry. I'm at the home screen and I go over to my notebook and projects. And then this is all the projects that I've made. It lists your works in process, the non-complete projects at the top. And I'm going over here to the left hand where it says add a project. And then I'm just going to start filling in information. So it asks me for which craft. I can do knitting, crochet, loom knitting, weaving, spinning. So in this case, it's knitting. And here I get to name my project. Now I'm going to post a toe up sock that I did, and it's a DK sock. So I'm just going to call it DK toe up. You can call it the pattern name. You can call it, the sock I made for grandma, whatever you want to do. And then down here, because I used a pattern, I'm going to enter the pattern name. If I didn't use a pattern, I would just click I didn't use a pattern or pattern not in Ravelry. Okay, so the pattern I used was called Fast Forward by Kate Atherley. You can type in the designer along with the pattern name, but I like to just type in the pattern name and let the computer do the work. So I'm going to hit continue. And now it's going to pull up all the things that are named fast forward, which apparently are a lot. So I'm just going to look and I'm going to scroll down until I see the pattern, which is Fast Forward, a toe up DK weight sock by Kate Atherley. And I'm going to hit choose this pattern. Now this takes me to my main project page, and this is where I have to fill in a lot of information. And it's really easy to forget some of this information to enter it. So some stuff I skip, some I don't, but I just go top to bottom. So name again is that DK toe up sock. I made these for me, so I just like to write me. If I made it for another, like one of my knitting friends, I could link it to their Ravelry. If I had a date that I was trying to finish it by, I could do that. I never meet those dates, so I don't put them in. And then size made. Sometimes it's one size. In this case, I made a large sock. It links it to my pattern, and then I come down here, knitting. I can select the category. So in this case, it would be an accessory. And then I go down to feet and socks. And I guess we'd call this a mid-calf sock. Okay. Tags are if you're tagging like other groups and things like that. And then needles, I can add what needle I use. So I'm going to add my needle, and I used a size 3. And I feel like adding the needle, guys, is really important because it's the one thing you never remember. You can make, by the way, a Ravelry page before you finish a project, like when you're in progress. And that's a great way to take those kinds of notes so that if you ever borrow the needle for something else, you can come back here and know that you used a size 3. So I can type in the gauge if I had a different gauge than the pattern, but the great thing is Ravelry has this button that will just fill in the gauge from the pattern if I got gauge, which I know I did. Okay. Now it's time to add a yarn. So I'm going to add yarn, and I'm going to type in the name of my yarn. So my yarn was Dream in Color Classy. Okay. And so then I hit the link button and it comes up. I've got 3 different Dream in colors to choose from. I've got Dream in Color Classy, Classy with Cashmere, or Classy with Nylon. So I'm going to hit Classy. And then it gives me all the colorways to choose from. My colorway was... honestly, I don't remember. So we're going to skip the colorway name, but I can also select closest color and kind of pick the range. Now this is a blue that you're going to see in a minute. So I am going to go to blue. I could type in the die lot number from my skein, which I don't typically do. And I'm just going to type in the amount of skeins I used. In this case, for this sock, I used 1. And then I can link where I purchased it at. Now, for some people, they think that's a little weird, but as someone who works in a yarn store, it really helps yarn stores, guys. The more yarn that gets stashed that's linked to a yarn store or gets used on projects brings up the visibility of your yarn store. So if you want to support your local yarn store without spending a dime, link your project pages to the store. So I'm going to type in my yarn store, Rose of Pearl. And then it comes up with a couple of rows of pearls because it's a fun name. And I am the one in Chester, New Jersey. And I can put the date I purchased it or how much I paid. You know, you can be as detailed as you want. If I used more than one yarn, I could add another yarn by clicking that button. And then for project notes, I am just going to write, love knitting this sock. Kept knitting the leg till I ran out of yarn. Okay, now a lot of people think they're done and they hit save changes, but you're not done yet. So if you scroll back up to the top, there's this whole right column that is important to fill out. Okay, so status, if I was still working on it, it would be in progress. If I'm going to take a break, it would be hibernating. If I gave up, it would be frog. But in this case, we finished it. So let's click finish. And then the happiness is how happy were you with the project? And they've got these cute little yarn emojis. So I love this project, so I'm going to pick the happiest one. And then even though I hit finished, I have to change the progress bar and click all the way to 100%. And I can put here the dates I started it, the dates I completed. I have no idea when I started this sock, so I'm just going to put the completion date as today. And then down here, if you want to be real helpful to designers and yarn companies, it asks you to rate the pattern and the yarn. So in here, for the pattern, Fast Forward by Kate Atherley, my overall rating is absolutely a 5-star. This was an excellent pattern, another great one from Kate. And then clarity rating, it was a really clear pattern, so I'm going to give it a 5 as well. And I don't always give a 5 in clarity for sure. And then this is the difficulty rating, which a lot of people rely on it when they look at patterns, but you have to remember, for the sake of the community, that you have to think of this clearly. Like, what's a piece of cake for me is not a piece of cake for a beginner knitter. So this sock was not a piece of cake. I could be easy. I'm going to call it a medium only because of all the kind of tricky techniques. And again, there's nothing wrong with a pattern being hard. It's just, it's nice to know it instead of people saying that a really hard pattern is actually easy. And then down here, I can also rate the yarn. So I really like this Dream in Color Classy. It was a nice superwash wool that I'd never worked before. So I'm going to give it a 4-star. And now I'm going to hit Save Changes. And this is my project page. Now there's one more step that I do, and that's I come over here to these tabs and I hit Add Photos. And I can load a photo from my computer or my phone. So for me, I go into my photos. And over here in my favorites, I have the picture. And I can hit upload now. And now I can hit finish with photos. And now you can see the photo of my project. I can click to make it bigger so you can stare at the pretty colorway. And it's complete, okay? Now, if I go back to my projects, my notebook and projects, I can see right here, it's the, you know, after I get past all my whips, and don't judge me for my whips, there's my DK toe-up sock. Okay, so I think it's important to post your projects. It helps the designers. It also helps you. Once you get knitting and you knit a lot of stuff, it's so easy to forget the things you knitted that you gave away and things. So it's a great scrapbook, a memory of what you made. So that's how I create a project in Ravelry. Hope it helps, guys. And I will see you next time.